So we're going to go ahead and add a student, and we are going to look for that Caitlin test student.
Now, from the teacher viewpoint, their whole class roster will be there. They actually do not have to actually even type in the box. Based upon their class, their whole class roster shows up. So all they have to do is check the check the student or student involved, and so they don't even have to search.
Correct. Okay. And then looking through here, when we do see these students, like Evan was saying, these students would, for a teacher, pre-populate in here. And then it's as easy as just including the student in the incident. And once you include a student in the incident, you will need to indicate their role in the incident. So you have the option of indicating whether the student was a offender, a victim, a reporter, or a witness. And then you can include a motivation in there as well. So we'll say that Caitlin witness to this fight, so that we have that information there in case we need to come back to them. And we'll say unknown motivation. And we will add them to the incident. Excellent. We see that they're appearing there. Also, so you can add them to the incident and then come back in and add more students. On that previous page that I was on, though, once you add them to once you have that little checkbox checked for them, you can always just click Save and Continue, and it's automatically going to put them into the incident. And now we'll see them in the incident. So we'll see our student involved in the incident, and then we'll see our witness involved in the incident as well. Now, the last pieces that we need to take care of in the incident in order to be able to close it is we're going to be looking to add student-specific narratives to the incident. So this actually gives us the option, especially in this case where we have multiple students attached to this incident, to add differing narratives for each student that's more context-driven to the student's role in there. We do have this quick option too, so this is Caitlin Test 1, the offender. Well, this narrative pretty much describes what happened, with this student. So I have the option of just copying that straight down into this box. So you don't have to retype everything. However, if you do want to add something different, so like let's say we look down here, we have our witness student. We could say, something different, student witnessed fight. And capture that differing information in there. The next couple steps that we could take here is now that we've seen that, okay, we know that we have this student, they were involved in this fight, we can add an action or a consequence for this student. And we can pick what that's going to be when we come into here. So I come in here and I see all of the actions that this user currently has access to. So you'll notice in here that because I'm looking at this user is a teacher in test school, it doesn't have all the standard actions that you would normally think of having, giving a fight. A lot of those, like if you're going to, put a kid out for a day, if you're going to, assign an ISS action, those are actions that can be reserved for an administrator. So an administrator would have to come in and actually assign those actions. Looking at a classroom teacher, though, I can add these specific actions to the incident. So, with this, I can say, I conferenced with the student. Don't need a time attached to that, but we can still record, save, and return to log that conference in. You can also capture any notes in there along that with the action. You can add in any other actions too for a witness. So let's say you talked with them, they were involved in it somehow. You could capture that in there too. I made the mistake of forgetting to save my incident narratives before I navigated away from the page, which is very important. So I will do that.
Eric, this is Edwin again. You see the buttons under each student that has the, not only can you add the action for create draft incident document. So again, we are paperless, but if you did need to print something out for a parent, then you can actually print the incident right here. So you can create a draft, and then you can also just go ahead and create the file and then print it out.
Yes. The other option that you have in here too to kind of get to what we were talking about before. So let's say I was a classroom teacher and I recorded this incident, and I said, this is a fight. This is something that escalated to a level that get involved in, I could come in and actually refer that incident. So in this case, I would want to make a school level referral. The classroom level referral would be like if I'm a teacher, I noticed a student cutting class. It was one of my kids. I recorded it. I knew that they were supposed to be in Miss Smith's class during that hour. I'm going to refer it over to her so that she could finish out the incident and say, that didn't come through. School level referral, though, something like an incident like this where there was a fight, where it's like, okay, we need to get an administrator involved in this. So I can come in and then it'll give me an access to the school level administrators or the school administrators that are assigned to this specific school. And we're actually going to jump in as Tori Test 2 in a little bit since they have a school administrator. And I can add any change notes to this too to communicate why the incident is being referred. So I could say, student engaged in a fight, passing to admin.
So,
and also just to add, Eric, you have administrators have an additional option. So you see where teachers have classroom and school.
right.
Administrators also have a level that says district. So you can actually refer an incident to your learning community or to central office too.
Okay, the question about for the teacher referred to school, they have to pick a specific admin, or can it go into like a general bucket?
It's most folks have someone that's assigned to, so it's but that will be up to you. It's better to have a specific administrator to send it to because they get an email alert in their box that says there's an incident there.
Gotcha. So, how do I determine those assignments in the computer, or I just have them a list? And the reason I ask, because some first level, smaller tier things, the BMTs is the ones that handle it. And if it goes a little beyond them, then it's referred on to the assistant principal. So is it that I have them refer?
Not an issue. Okay. Not an issue because you just tell staff who it needs to go to based on grade level or area of the building. And the other part is, say the teacher might refer it to the BMT, but the BMT goes, I think this needs to be moved up, and the BMT can then refer it to the administrator too.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, however you want to set it up off the platform, that's just a thing of just telling your staff where it's supposed to go. It's procedure, and that's it.
Really. So this piece is just the notification piece, but regardless of whom the notification went to, when you first go in, you can see as an administrator all incidents that are out there, regardless of whom they were assigned.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, if you are building wide, you can see all incidents.
Okay.
The refer part is important because we need to know who is now the manager of this incident. So the teacher did their part, and they're now referring the incident. So we really do want a specific person responsible for now taking care of the consequence and whatever, the next steps needs to happen.
Gotcha.
Yep. And that's actually the piece that we're looking at right now in here. So I quickly logged back into the system, and I'm in as a school administrator for this school now. And you'll see the incident that we actually created before, the one that I just referred to this administrator, is appearing right here. So I can come in and see, these are my open incidents that I have right now, and I have a fight that happened this morning. So I need to come into the details and work on finishing out this incident. So you'll notice from here, all these buttons down here, there are a lot more that an administrator is going to have access to. So you can add any additional violations or state reporting codes. Let's say you reviewed the incident narrative and it was categorized as fighting to begin with, but a teacher went to break up the fight and the student swung on the teacher and hit him. Well, you can capture that with the state reporting code, assault on school personnel, or any other reporting code that comes in there. You can capture that through there. You can also come in and capture any law enforcement contact. So if it was an incident that escalates to that point, you can record all of that information in here so you have the record of that. We have our suspension notices, which are the documents that Evan was referring to before. So if you add a suspension, whether it's OSS or ISS for this student, it'll create a version of that document that if you do want to print out, sign, give to a parent, It'll include all the dates of the suspension in there, the action that was taken, the board or the policy violation that the student was found to be violating. And you can add additional actions. So when we look at the action piece that we're talking about before, now that I'm in as an administrator, I could read this, oh, there was a fight that happened. Well, I have all these other actions that I could assign now. So let's say, I read the incident narrative, there's this fight, and I say, okay, this kid has to be suspended for 2 days. I could capture that in here, and then I can record any completed time, so that completed time being any time that they've already served as a part of the suspension. I'm going to leave that as null for right now. And let's say, okay, it happened this morning. By the time we get everything in line, we'll say that the suspension actually is going to start, because we'll say it starts on Monday. And then we can automatically compute the end date of the suspension, which will read off of the assigned time and the start date by just clicking compute end date. And it'll tell us, okay, suspension begins on the 9th, it's going to end on the 10th, they're good to come back to school on the 11th. And then I could add any additional notes in there too on the action notes. So let's say, for example, one of the things that I often see captured in the action notes are, let's say like this student has a history of, they have a history of being suspended, and they, still or might try to come back to school, the next day during the suspension. You can capture information like that in there, but you don't need to put anything in there either. So we can record that action and come in, and we have the suspension log at this point. We can indicate if we have to indicate that the student was given the opportunity to respond to these charges. So we'll say that they're able to respond to the administrator I'm in as right now. And you can
Joe, let me interject 1 second.
Absolutely.
Eric, if you look at the first action, that's what the teacher did, and then the second action is what the administrator did. So what you actually have is a trail of all the different actions that were done to support the student. Another thing that you might decide to do, an administrator might decide to do, is because they may have some concerns and want to now refer this incident to the counselor or the social worker. And so now we'll also see the counselor and social worker can also see all the different actions too. And so so you really do get to see the full, around a single incident, all the different types of supports and responses that the school did for a student.
So let me ask this question. Yeah. We have kind of a 3 before referral. So we require them to have 3 unless it's a major incident, 3 classroom interventions prior to writing a referral. Is it so when they write their referral, do they attach those other classroom incidents to it, or how does that work?
What they can do is it's recorded around. So maybe the teacher did 3 different things around a single incident, and they can put them all right in here. Okay. How many ever they did, they can put them right there.
Or it could be 3 different things. One day it can be throwing paper in class. Another one can be excessive talking. Another one could be, just any classroom manageable incident, maybe use of profanity in the classroom. Okay, now we're to the 4th one, and now it's time to get a referral. But I see all those other 3 that they've done along the way as classroom.
Yes. So as an administrator, you just search for the student, and you can see their full history of what the teacher has tried, what date, and you can now have a conversation with the student and the parent around their whole history as opposed to just a single incident.
Gotcha.
And a really good place to capture that information too, once you do that review of the student history, we have these mitigating factors and aggravating factors boxes in here where you can enter in text to detail that. So like you were saying, you have that rules like the,
Joe, we actually we don't really use the mitigating and aggravating because it just became too confusing to try to figure out what was what. So we actually don't even worry about those boxes.
Okay, excellent. With that though, like Evan was saying before, we do have the option of creating those documents in here. So we know that this student has a suspension action signed to them. Let's create that final suspension notice for this student. And in here, this is going to auto-generate the document. I could say that this is the one parent that we have in here. Any parent for the student that's assigned to that student that we receive for them will appear in this drop-down with the option of other as well. We just have dad test in for Caitlin here. So I'm going to indicate that I talked to dad test. We don't need any other in there. and I called him today, and it was pretty soon after the fight happened.
When replying to an email, please refrain from hitting reply all. It is best practice when replying to an email sent to all staff, click the down arrow and then reply. And then your email should populate with just that sender. So again, when replying to the all staff on email, once you select an email, please refrain from just clicking the reply button up in the corner, reply all. Click the down arrow beside it. Once we get there, click the down arrow and just reply. That way we can avoid additional emails or conversations between the sender and the individuals. Thank you. Hello staff, I'd like to clear up something real quick. When replying to an all staff email or just an email in general, it is best practice not to hit the reply all, because that means it goes back out to the entire staff when you just have a question or a comment to the individual sender. What you should do is click the down arrow over here next to reply all and just select reply. Again, please refrain from selecting reply all. Hit just the reply. You will notice the difference on some of your phones and other email programs. The reply all has these two little kind of flip back arrows, and a regular reply only has one. If you can take note of that in the future, it would be greatly appreciated. Everyone's inbox appreciates you. Check, 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 check.